ABC's The Rookie tells the story of John Nolan, a divorced contractor in his 40s who moves to Los Angeles to become a cop. It's a funny show.
What are you, new?
Actually, yeah, I am.
You seem kind of old to be new.
Thank you.
But what you probably don't know is that the LAPD effectively co-produced The Rookie.
This is based on a real story, a true story.
Yes.
How does approaching a character that is real, how does it change your approach to the character?
You know, so we're not telling this. There is a man who, at 40 years old, decided to become a cop.
The Rookie stars Nathan Fillion as Nolan, the oldest rookie in the LAPD, along with his two classmates from the police academy, Lucy Chen and Jackson West. It also features their 3 training officers: Talia Bishop, who is gruff but lovable.
Sergeant Gray does not appear to be a fan of my presence in this department.
Because you're old as hell?
Angela Lopez, who is gruff but lovable.
I've been training to be a cop my whole life. I walked in here thinking I knew everything about everything, and I can only imagine how annoying that's been.
I want to call it annoying. I call it... Yeah, no, annoying's about right.
And Tim Bradford, who is gruff but lovable.
I've been shot!
What?
Where are you, Boot?
What?
I'm bleeding to death. You have to call for help. Where are you? Where are you? Now I'm dead. It's your fault. Get out.
What?
Get out and walk. You can get back in when you know where you are. You know, it's funny, when I read that, I was like, wow, this is, I can't believe he would do that. Now, I've done like 3 ride-alongs since doing this. Sure. That's real. They do that.
You gotta know where you are.
You have to know where you are at all times. Wow. Because if that were to happen, and I really got shot, you have to call, you have to radio in. And if you can't be looking for street signs, you know, it's life or death. Right. So with a lot of the trained officers I met with, they were like, yeah, no, we do that to our boots all the time. Wow.
Then there's the watch commander, Sergeant Gray, who is gruff but lovable.
Like, quiz me on procedure?
Do I look like a game show host, Steve? Go find some crime. Make a difference in our community today.
The running characters include a crusty but benign police lieutenant who's always getting heat from the commissioner, a hard-nosed, hard-drinking detective who thinks women belong in the kitchen, and a brilliant and beautiful young girl cop who's fighting the feminist battle on the force.
We're up terriers and lady cops.
So it's a cop show. History tells us that people enjoy cop shows. We were looking for a new foray into a new angle.
Little known to anyone outside of the police and the entertainment industry, the LAPD has a dedicated office for dealing with Hollywood. It is officially called the Entertainment Trademark Unit, because in 2006, the LAPD copyrighted themselves, registering their badge, uniforms, logo, and even their motto and acronym as trademarks. This prevents people from using their name and logo unless they sign a contract controlling how they can use them and what they can say about the police. Over the last 2 years, I have obtained hundreds of pages of documents detailing how this all works. If you want to film a documentary or reality show about the LAPD and need their cooperation, you have to sign a trademark license agreement so you can show these trademarked materials on screen. The contract says that you cannot demean, disparage, disgrace, or cast in an unfavourable light the city of Los Angeles or any of its employees or departments. Any footage showing the police cannot be used to depict a violation of police department policy or procedure, or any unlawful, immoral, racist, or reckless act by the police, including unlawful battery, assault, beating or shooting, planting of evidence, racist comments, hate crimes, and reckless driving. The LAPD reserve the right to review all of the footage and reject any that they deem unsuitable. and the rejected footage shall not be distributed, displayed, or placed in the stream of commerce in any manner. So if you watch these documentaries and reality shows, you will never see things like this. Or this.
Oh, yeah, he bugging. He bugging.
Or this. Or this. There are other restrictions too, such as when What the Fit with Kevin Hart wanted an LAPD officer to train him how to be a bodyguard. The LAPD rejected the request because officers aren't allowed to appear in uniform. When the YouTube series Weird City wanted to film the LAPD Memorial Wall, they were told they weren't allowed to film the wall or the Memorial Garden. The producers agreed to a different filming location, but when they turned up, the police cited the location manager because he hadn't got the proper permits from Film LA.
Beaver.
What kind of weird-ass movie is this?
Similarly, the police training academy is actually on private land, owned by the Los Angeles Police Revolver and Athletic Club. So if you want to film how LAPD officers are trained to shoot you, you can't get permission from the LAPD themselves, because it isn't their property. When it comes to fictional shows like The Rookie, they cannot show any of the registered trademarks. This didn't stop the LAPD from having a significant influence on the show. Fillion and others have spoken about being trained by police technical advisors.
You have police advisors on your show. Were there any anecdotes or stories that they told you that kind of shocked you, you weren't aware of?
All of them.
All of them.
Let me tell you, we trained with some wonderful guys, Chick and Bob are their names. They are amazing guys, and they'll say, this is the rule. This is why we do this. This is to prevent this one thing. This one time a guy did this, and it's a crazy, nutty story, and now they have a procedure to make sure that never happens again.
What kind of training is it? Does it get real physical?
You know, it is. We have a great tech advisor, and we had a good 2 weeks of training during the first season. Second season was a bit of a refresher course.
We have 2 police consultants who have been on the force. One of them still on the force.
Did you feel like you had to rework out again for the second, for the next season?
Yeah, just to get into the flow,
into the groove of things.
Yeah, all the technicalities of it all. What we do to sort of look like a real cop, right?
Yeah.
For them, it's second nature, but for us, it's getting back into that rhythm.
But this only scratches the surface of the LAPD's involvement. Police documents show that they worked on Season 1 of The Rookie, and signed a location agreement, allowing the producers to film at police headquarters.
We have a couple of police consultants that help us learn the actual police procedures.
And the LAPD is one of 2 precincts that will take you over the age of 37. So we are borrowing that idea and then taking it and making a TV show out of it. We're not trying to retell the story of this gentleman's life. There's a kernel of truth from which we plant and sow the crop that is our series.
The man Fillion is talking about is Bill Norcross, who is much more than a trainer for the cast. He is the man the entire show is based on, and early scripts were inspired by conversations he had with a screenwriter he knew from college. Norcross now serves as a script consultant on The Rookie, an on-set technical advisor, and is a credited executive producer on the series, all while working for the LAPD.
So talk to, when the show first came out, I remember saying, the story loosely based on an actual cop at the LAPD. You got to meet him.
Yes.
Bill, I believe.
Yes,
right?
his name's Bill.
His name's Bill. You keep touch with him? Is he still coming by?
He still comes by. He's every once in a while we'll be like filming on location somewhere in Santa Monica, something like that, and Bill will swing by. He goes, yeah, I'm on patrol here. This is my rookie. Right? He's got a rookie this year. Yeah, so cool. It happens, yeah.
Norcross even appears in an episode, leading a police raid. On top of this, the series director and one of its stars, Eric Winter, went on multiple ride-alongs with the LAPD. This helped provide ideas for storylines, as well as input on Winter's character.
Would you like to share?
Oh, it's a long story. I don't want to bore you.
That ends with him in the back of a police car driving through a block party of, what was the gang?
I don't remember the name of the gang, but
it was
probably
a gang.
Figure 100 gang members are in the street throwing their corporate party. It happens once a year. They all gather up and they have some cocktails. And
Cut to Eric.
It was.
I wish I wasn't here.
It was the director. It was our director, Liz, in the front, me in the back, and one cop, and we were blocked in with 100 gang members, and the officer had decided to tell them they should all move their cars. Oh. Or he's coming back with his boys. And I'm in the back seat going, my doors are not bulletproof. And it was very intense.
How can you just not want to shoot that face?
It was nuts. But I made it out, and we ended up at a Church's Chicken around 11 o'clock. And I will not lie when I say, within 5 minutes, there were probably 30 officers all rallying within 5 minutes about how we were going to infiltrate this block party and clear them all out.
What do you mean we?
And I was like, I'm sorry, we? And they're like, yeah, but you're cool, right? Like, I don't have a vest on. What do you mean cool? Can you go over the wall? I'm like, no, I'm not going over the wall.
Well, what practice that was, I mean, I know it was dangerous and terrifying, but that puts you in a mode where you get into these roles and you actually have to convey that on screen. You can put yourself back into that moment, probably.
It was amazing. We used a bit from that night in one of our episodes when we rolled up on a bunch of gangs, and I ended up pulling out a gun and having it at the door, which is something that cops often do. So we used something from that night in a scene.
Wow.
However, the LAPD database of interactions with Hollywood doesn't mention these ride-alongs, and they claim to not be able to find any documents about Winter's relationship with the LAPD.
All right. LAPD guys see you on the street, do they kind of give you the...
You know what's fun? I went to a big LAPD event, and it was like the reaction of my character, because I'm such a hard ass. Like, can we say that? Yeah. And all these cops were like, "Oh man, we love you. You're the. That's how it is." One cop in Rampart did a whole shirt that he designed around my character and a slogan.
Wow. Well, that has to feel good. That's putting a stamp of approval on your work, right?
It was great.
Both seasons of The Rookie include storylines about their involvement in Hollywood. In season 1, Nolan and Bishop take a film director on a ride-along.
Oh, I'm so excited to be riding along with the oldest rookie in the world.
I wouldn't say world.
Don't sell yourself short, James.
John.
Does this vest make me look fat?
What, are you kidding? You look like you're ready to start in Trading Fire 5.
Yeah, I've been training with these special forces guys.
Oh, same guys who trained Tom for the last movie? I watch all the behind-the-scenes videos.
Can I give you a note?
Oh, what?
You're coming across a little earnest. Just try throwing it away a little more.
That's all right. You do know I'm a real person, right?
In season 2, Jackson West becomes a technical advisor on a TV cop show. But neither of these episodes mentions the LAPD's Hollywood office, making the police-Hollywood relationship seem like an occasional, piecemeal affair. So, given all their influence on the series, How does The Rookie portray the LAPD? And what does it say about the scandals and issues that have plagued the department for decades? The LAPD has been accused of being a white supremacist organisation, where non-whites and women are sidelined, profiled, targeted, harassed, and even killed.
A Los Angeles police detective suing the department, claiming supervisors failed to act when she alleged a fellow officer was extorting her with sexually explicit photos. This despite California's strict revenge porn laws.
A report by the LA Times shows LAPD officers appear to search Black and Latino drivers more during traffic stops.
Now community activists are demanding change. And CBS 2's Candace Crone is live outside LAPD headquarters where a rally just ended.
But The Rookie has been praised for the racial and gender mix of its main cast, and it portrays the police department's sexism and racism as a thing of the past.
Why don't you like Hawk?
He's a throwback. He thinks the good old days were when the LAPD was 90% white men.
Really? Didn't strike me as that guy.
I'm sure he didn't.
But no, it feels really good, and I actually did speak to a couple captains in real life who are women, and they said it's a struggle. You have 2 strikes against you, not only as a woman, but to rise through the ranks and show people that you can do this job and that you can do it well.
Yo, lady cop, you can search my place all day. Get face the wall before I snatch the other eye out of your head. You need to learn some respect.
While the show does foreground female characters, they aren't treated with the same respect as the men, either on screen or in real life. The female captain is shown largely deferring to her subordinate, Gray, before being killed by neo-Nazis.
I'll alert patrol units. We gotta find these guys.
Mm-hmm. Do that.
Meanwhile, Afton Williamson, who plays Talia Bishop, was initially enthusiastic about the role, but left the show after just 1 season.
How do you approach that? Did you do any research into women who had become
No, it's funny. Talia just spoke to me because she's strong and she has layers, and I think that we're now seeing that on TV across the board with women.
The Rookie actress Afton Williamson has quit the ABC drama amid claims of sexual harassment and racial discrimination.
She said that she had been sexually harassed by recurring guest star Demetrius Gross, and subject to racist bullying, which escalated into sexual assault, by the head of the hair department, Sally Chiganovich. Williamson reported this to the showrunner, but nothing was done until she quit the show and went public. The show then hired an outside law firm to investigate, who found no evidence of wrongdoing. But Gross did not return for season 2, and Chiganovich was also replaced for the 2nd season. However, Bishop's replacement as Nolan's training officer, Nyla Harper, reveals halfway through season 2 that she was raped by her handler while working undercover. This is never referred to again, and Harper shows no signs of the trauma, flashbacks, or anxiety attacks typically suffered by rape victims.
Are you flirting with me?
No. I just think your talents are being wasted back on patrol.
Really? Because I got talents you don't even know about.
Now you're flirting with me.
So, why did the producers write in this backstory? Was it a tacit admission that Williamson's allegations are true? Or some sort of coded apology? Or was it a tokenistic attempt to prove how woke they are and rehab their image? When it comes to racism, The Rookie did a similar job of laundering the LAPD's reputation. The only explicit racism expressed by any officer in the show is part of a test Bradford puts Chen through during the pilot episode.
Tell him that it's immigrants like them that make Americans like you look bad. If it was up to me, we'd send them all back by catapult.
At the same time, neo-Nazis are referred to throughout the show, and even try to assassinate Nolan in one episode. before another racist gang tried to launch a biological terror attack on LAX. While racists are portrayed as the bad guys, the notion of LAPD officers being racist is avoided completely.
Too bad he wasn't home. I was in the mood to hook an Aryan up.
The LAPD's elite Metropolitan Division will drastically cut back now on pulling over random vehicles following concerns of racial profiling. An LA Times report outlined a disproportionate amount of searches conducted during traffic stops against Black and Latino drivers. LAPD Chief Michael Moore tells the Times that the vehicle stops have not proven effective with the number of arrests and come really as a tremendous cost to innocent drivers. The changes will take effect sometime next month.
The LAPD also have a reputation for violent brutality and violating the rights of innocent civilians.
The LAPD has been slapped with another seven-figure judgment for excessive force. This time a jury awarded $1.6 million to a stroke victim who suffered nerve damage after being forced into handcuffs.
The LA Police Commission says the off-duty officer who fired a gun during a scuffle with a 13-year-old did indeed violate department policy. Police Chief Charlie Beck will now decide whether to discipline Officer Kevin Ferguson over last year's confrontation, which was sparked by teens cutting across the yard of his Anaheim home. Last month, Orange County prosecutors decided not to file criminal charges against Ferguson. The incident spurred large protests.
I'm not resisting.
It's a disturbing scene to watch. An off-duty LAPD officer twisting the wrist of a man who's already in handcuffs and not fighting back.
Somebody help me.
The officer is Mario Cardona. The man in his custody is Daniel Garza, his neighbor who had recently broken up with Cardona's stepdaughter.
Oh! Mario, let me go!
Officer Cardona attacked and tortured me for over 20 minutes.
This week, a federal court jury found that Officer Cardona acted with malice and awarded Garza $210,000 in damages.
But the rookie went out of its way to dispel these accusations. Early on in Season 1, Nolan shoots and kills a robbery suspect. But this is properly investigated, and the story focuses on Nolan's trauma and sense of guilt.
Has Officer Nolan ever talked about wanting to use force?
Wanting to? No.
Similarly, in Season 2, Nolan's new training officer, Harper, is chasing someone when he falls off a roof, and Nolan suspects that Harper threw him off. But it quickly emerges that the man jumped off the building to try to escape, exonerating Harper completely. The only time a cop on the rookie is accused of excessive force is when Lopez apprehends a man for stealing a lawyer's briefcase, and the lawyer gets into an argument with her.
The law defines excessive force as a use of force greater than that which a reasonable officer would use under the circumstances.
He makes a good point. Nobody's talking to you.
But it turns out that this is all part of a flirtatious game between the two, who then start dating and even move in together. At the end of Season 1, during the bioterrorist plot, Lopez tells her boyfriend what's going on, and he threatens to inform the public.
We're trying to stop a terror attack. We believe one of the terrorists lives around here. So you should evacuate, maybe even get out of the city, okay?
No, not okay. So far from okay. Why haven't you issued a warning or an evacuation? People have the right to know.
Lopez arrests him to prevent him from talking to anyone, but at the end of the episode, he apologizes and admits he was in the wrong.
Made me realize that I was a little short-sighted earlier.
The pair even end up getting engaged in Season 2, putting to bed any notion that Lopez is morally corrupt and enjoys committing violence against criminal suspects. Since 2009, the LAPD have used big data to try to anticipate where and when crimes will happen, as well as who will commit them.
Los Angeles police worked for months to catch Manson and his followers. These days, the LAPD is on an offensive to prevent crime. Its latest weapon is a computer program that can actually predict where crimes will happen.
Interesting story here tonight. The LAPD is trying a new strategy to reduce crime. Experimental technology is being used to map out where criminals are likely to strike next. Tonight, KCAL 9's Andrea Fujii is live at the LAPD's Pacific Division. Andrea, with a look at how this fascinating technology works.
This predictive policing has been widely criticized, both for perpetuating racial profiling and for being an ineffective waste of resources. These big data schemes often target people because they've been previously targeted by the police.
Police departments in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles are being sued for not releasing information about predictive policing programs. The programs use algorithms to create lists of people and neighborhoods for officers to target.
So the more often you're stopped by law enforcement and they fill out a field interview card on you, the more points you get. But when we look at stops, in 2017, the black community was stopped 5 times more than the white community. That's who's getting the points.
So once you're on the list, you're not getting off the list.
Well, they claim you can get off the list if you don't have interactions with law enforcement. But if the instructions to law enforcement is to find you, follow you, stop you, violate you, how are you ever going to get off the list?
You're caught up in a feedback loop.
Yeah.
So the laser program was designed on the metaphor that they were going to, like laser surgery, remove the tumors, the bad actors, from the community. That idea, offensive as it is, was an idea of using some kind of algorithm to identify risk. Things like past criminal history, past gang membership, past weapons offenses, and contacts with police.
However innocuous that contact was.
Right. And one of the insidious things about the laser program was, it was, on one hand, a measure of social control. How do we get police to contact the people we think are more at risk for violence? But also collect a whole lot of data that they would just store and use for later investigative purposes.
As with all the other controversies it touches, The Rookie made light of the widespread concerns about predictive policing. In Season 2, Jackson West, the sort of young black man who is routinely targeted by the LAPD, is accidentally exposed to drugs while on duty, and spends the rest of the episode high as a kite, rambling incoherent thoughts. But in several scenes, he starts explaining ideas he has for predicting crime.
I wonder if that was a coincidence or something
Jackson,
that actually,
what are you talking about?
Paperwork, like formats, the data, you know? Okay, look, you don't understand. That kind of computing power and all our data, we are just a few years away from being able to predict crime.
Along with trivializing the practice of predictive policing, this episode makes it look like the idea is just a drug-induced futuristic fantasy, as though the LAPD aren't currently doing this, when they are.
By nature, the data sets that PredPol is feeding off of and generating its conclusions from are inherently biased because of biased policing over the years.
While some predictive schemes have been scrapped due to public pressure, budget problems, and an Inspector General's report casting doubt on whether predictive policing even works, the LAPD continue to use big data.
A contentious police commission meeting as protesters disrupted a number of speakers. The issue is a controversial data-driven program that tries to identify persons likely to commit violent crimes. Opponents say it targeted minority communities.
The chief would dare say it was just an experiment. It was just an experiment. The thing that he calls an experiment for us is ways in which we have to save our lives.
Since 2011, the LAPD has used several data programs like PredPol, or predictive policing. Some would identify crime hotspots and possibly people involved, but the department found inconsistency in how they were being used.
In the face of its criticism and in the face of concerns relative to whether or not the underlying algorithm truly was fair and unbiased, for us to continue it going forward.
The program called predictive policing, the chief says, only identifies hotspots where crimes are occurring. He says that does not identify any person, and it is only used to send resources to that area. The chief decided to stop one program which used data to identify persons who are most likely to commit violent crimes.
We're going to stop using, as I initiated last August, we will no longer use chronic offender bulletins.
At today's police commission hearing, a number of activist groups objected to the entire program.
Now they are bringing in this language of precision policing. So the idea of how data gets collected, how people get traced and tracked, and how people get stalked hasn't stopped.
While The Rookie does portray a handful of rogue cops stealing drug money and committing other crimes, they are always lone individuals who are uncovered by the LAPD, emphasizing how good the department is at rooting out the bad apples in their ranks. Nothing could be further from the truth. Perhaps the worst case of rogue cops in LAPD history is the Rampart Scandal. In the 1990s, it emerged that dozens of officers involved in the Rampart Division's anti-gang unit were little more than criminals with badges, guilty of unprovoked beatings and shootings, planting evidence to frame innocent people, stealing drugs and selling them, bank robberies, and perjury.
Los Angeles Police Department is embroiled in the worst scandal in its history. Charges of police evidence tampering and perjury have led to the freeing of dozens of inmates who were wrongly accused and convicted.
Los Angeles officials say it could take years to resolve the city's police corruption scandal, its worst ever. More convictions were overturned today. The city is looking at millions of dollars in legal claims by people wrongfully accused.
El escándalo de corrupción en la división Rampart provocó que nuevos casos criminales fueran anulados por una corte de Los Ángeles mientras se investiga la supuesta alteración en los mismos.
That's a huge mess.
That description of the Rampart police corruption scandal given today by District Attorney Gil Garcetti. 9 more criminal convictions thrown out today. That makes 40 so far, including Stephen Garcia's.
I lost my family, my home, cars, clothes, everything.
Garcia says ex-Rampart police officer Rafael Perez framed him.
He showed me some cocaine and told me that if I didn't give him some information on who was selling firearms or who was selling certain amounts of drugs and so forth, that I was going to go to prison.
And he did, for almost 3 years. Now Garcia's attorney is working on a lawsuit against the city, just one of many that could cost Los Angeles up to $125 million.
New developments in the LAPD scandal. Tonight, a federal judge has made a major decision regarding anti-gang officers and illegal immigrants.
If it's the situation like Mr. Tejeda, where they literally threaten him because he's a material witness to police misconduct, and they tear up his green card, whatever people may or may not think is right is not the point. We have mechanisms that we have to follow.
Despite multiple investigations and over 100 convictions being overturned, the full extent of the Rampart scandal remains unknown. But it did have a significant impact on popular culture, inspiring films, TV shows, and video games, including Training Day in 2001, The Shield in 2002, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and the movies Cellular, Direct Action, and Crash in 2004, and Dirty in 2005. The LAPD founded their Hollywood office at the start of 2006, seemingly in response to this flurry of Rampart-inspired pop culture. Indeed, The Shield was so closely based on the Rampart scandal that it was originally called Rampart, before objections from the LAPD caused the producers to change the title. In The Rookie, the Rampart Scandal is mentioned only once, and again it downplays the seriousness and severity of the real events. In Season 1, Chen threatens a man who is abusing his dog, telling him, "I will make you my personal project." The man later turns out to be a murderer, and at the end of her shift, Chen is called in by the captain for a telling off.
You told Mr. Acker, and I quote, "I will make you my personal project." Nice. Kind of retro, very 1990s Rampart Scandal.
In reality, the Rampart Scandal involved far more than verbal threats, and included covering up murders and running local drugs gangs. This playing down of the scandal is part of a consistent theme in The Rookie, where the characters repeatedly emphasize how righteous and uncorruptible the department is, in stark contrast to the facts on the ground.
I wanted to say I really appreciated what you said earlier today about cops doing the right thing every day.
Is that because you're seeing evidence of officers acting otherwise?
No.
You feel bad? You know, hooking a fellow officer up?
No. Having a badge means you're held to a higher standard, not a lower one. DEA was actually pissed that we let him go so quickly. They thought I should be holding on to him for the full 24 hours the law allows. I told them I don't do business that way.
Tonight, an unspecified number of LAPD officers are off the streets of South LA. Those officers all worked Metropolitan Division crime suppression duties and are accused of falsifying police reports by classifying innocent people as gang members.
So, is The Rookie a piece of Copaganda, co-produced by the LAPD as a PR effort to help cover up their corrupt, violent, and racist behavior?
And, you're standing waiting for your time to go do whatever. We can't really, it's still open to the public. Right. And someone will walk up to me and say, "Hey, my neighbor wants to cut down my trees. Can I?" Why are you asking me?
Did you advise them on that?
I'm wearing a cop outfit.
I
They
see,
think
yeah.
maybe I'm a...
Of all the stuff you guys have kind of had to deal with, these various police calls and things that officers every day have to deal with, what's been I don't know if there's anything fun about what you have to respond to, but just the fun in being an actor getting to play in that.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, when we were shooting the pilot, we were driving the cop car, and then this guy was going to jaywalk, and then he saw our car, and he's like, never mind. And then I had to use the restroom. Yeah, I had to use the restroom, so I'm running, and I'm forgetting I'm in the cop uniform, and everyone's looking alarmed because I'm running. And then this woman opens the door for me. She goes, I'm like, "Thank you." She goes, "Yes, ma'am, whatever, ma'am." And I'm looking around for the bathroom. I find a bathroom, and then there's these two real officers sitting having lunch, and looking at me strange, and they're like,
They knew something was up.
"You're not a real cop, right?"
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Cause I didn't have my belt on, so."
Okay.
That was my giveaway, but.
Has anyone, have they tried to give you discounts in restaurants or anything? If you're
I tried.
She did try.
I did try.
I mean, it's like a 50% discount, right?
It's
Something like
great.
that. Yeah. Oh yeah. The restaurant I worked in, I think we gave a 70.
Really?
Wow.
Restaurant is this?
It was back in Indiana. Yeah.
I remember getting coffee on the lot once on Warner Brothers, and I didn't have my wallet on me. That's okay, officer. You can just take it.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not, but thank you."
The show has certainly helped encourage LAPD recruitment, as Fillion has mentioned in multiple interviews.
Having done I played an author for 8 years, and people come to me, "Hey, you inspired me to write my own book." And now people are saying, "I became a cop."
One of the things that I thought was amazing that I read about this show is that a lot of people have been inspired to do exactly as John has done. They've started there. I think you said one of them was a priest and is now a cop.
That's absolutely true.
Is
That
true?
was my favorite
Yeah.
story. So people come up to me and say, I'm a cop, there's a guy in my rookie class who joined because he'd wanted to for ages, but until the show came and said, "Oh, I'm not having a midlife crisis. This is actually something people have the calling and figure it out late." And then one of my favorite stories was the man who decided to become a police officer was a priest. And I said, there's a show for you. Yeah, that's a show. Officer Father?
But it is much more than mere recruitment propaganda. Fillion has admitted that they are deliberately trying to portray the LAPD positively, despite being aware of their corrupt, immoral, and criminal behavior.
There's an important conversation happening in this country right now about how police and community relations. How do you hope this show addresses that conversation?
You know, good question. There is certainly enough bad stories we're going to see in the news, and unfortunately, bad news makes for good news. But the fact is, when something goes wrong, we all still dial 911. There's a lot of cops out there who are doing a fantastic job that you just don't hear about because it just doesn't make for good news. We are well aware that there are bad things happening out there, but we are interested in telling the stories of people who are inspired to be police officers. This is a calling. This is a public service.
Given the popularity of The Rookie, it is highly likely that it will be recommissioned for a third season. So while we can expect more amusing character drama, we can also expect it to continue avoiding digging into the dark side of the LAPD.
The lawsuit filed by ex-LAPD commander Nicole Meringer is filled with LAPD's dirty laundry. The 22-year veteran was fired for alleged public drunkenness. Her claim asks, what about what male officers have done?
Men keep their jobs, the woman gets fired.
Attorney Brad Gage refers to multiple incidents, including this, on the 405 freeway at the 110.
Oh, an emergency, what are you reporting? They just had sparks flying, they don't have no tires.
LAPD Commander Jeff Nolte behind the wheel. And there's Assistant Chief George Villegas, who announced a sudden retirement. The lawsuit says Villegas, caught on video surveillance conducted by LAPD, having sex in his police vehicle with a subordinate. The list goes on.
A former senior LAPD officer now on the other side of the law after the DA's office files charges against Danny Reedy for an alleged revenge porn scandal while he was on the force. Reedy, who was a senior lead officer with the department before retiring after the scandal broke, faces 9 counts, including extortion, domestic violence, and violating a restraining order.
An off-duty LAPD detective has been accused of videotaping inside a men's bathroom at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. 42-year-old detective Ryan Caplet was placed under citizen's arrest on June 8th by a man who says he caught the officer recording video of him. Caplet has been assigned to home duty with pay.
The LA Board of Police Commissioners acknowledging today that an officer violated department policy in a fatal shooting of a man at a 24-hour fitness gym in Hollywood. That suspect was 30-year-old Albert Dorsey, who at one point confronted police wearing nothing but a towel based on the body cam police footage. He apparently had been trespassing at the gym that's on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood.
It was June of last year when LAPD officers found themselves facing an aggressive man holding a chair and a knife. That's 32-year-old Guillermo Perez.
Drop the knife! Drop the knife!
The confrontation at a homeless outreach center in Van Nuys. It was captured on an officer's body cam. When Perez refuses to drop the knife, one of the officers opens fire with beanbag rounds. Those rounds had little effect, and Perez backs up to where 49-year-old Elizabeth Tollison is standing. When he puts the knife to her throat and starts to cut Tollison, the officers open fire. 18 rounds were fired, killing Perez, but 2 of them hit Tollison. She died 2 days later.
LAPD officers accused of sexually abusing a then 15-year-old police cadet and then giving her a pill to induce an abortion. The girl, now 16, has filed a lawsuit alleging sexual harassment, emotional distress, and civil rights violations. The ex-cop, Robert Kane, who was not mentioned as a defendant, resigned last year after being arrested by LAPD Chief Charlie Beck. Kane is jailed on weapons convictions and is facing additional charges of having a sexual relationship with an underage cadet. The LA City attorney is not commenting on the suit.
In court, the teenage victim of a sexual assault calls her attacker a monster. She had been 15 years old, an LAPD cadet. He was an LAPD officer. His name is Robert Kane. This morning, he pled no contest to 2 felony charges and is headed now to prison. They had been a team. 46-year-old James Nichols, 45-year-old Luis Valenzuela. Hollywood narcotics officers working the streets in an unmarked vehicle, drawing women on the inside of the drug trade into the back seat of the car. Jane Doe victims say then the officers demanded sex.
Every time I see a police car while driving, a panic comes over me. My heart starts to beat so fast, like it's about to explode.
Forcible rape. To each of these charges, how will you plead? No contest.
No contest, the reply from both defendants to sex crimes against 4 women, including forcible rape. The sentence, 25 years in prison. One attack happened in a parking lot near Temple and Alvarado, but there were others carried out between 2008 and 2011. What made the women so vulnerable? They were confidential informants. Officers had information that could get them locked up.